Hello, uh, and we are now recording. Hi, Stephen. How are you doing today?
Oh, well, how you doing, Shannon?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for being the very first guest of the Strategic Disruptor Initiative One Mic series for the Jerome McFadden Education Center. I'm so excited to have you. Thank you for being an amazing friend, community advocate. Thank you for just showing up for our babies, including your own babies. So before we dive into some things, tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name is Stephen Waddy. Right now, I'm the president of the Anne Arundel County NAACP. I'm a graduate of Winston-Salem State University. I have a degree in history and secondary education. After I graduated back in '03, I moved to Atlanta. That's where I met Shannon. We were doing voter registration. I got involved in a bunch of civic education, civil rights related mobilizing. And I was the Georgia State Coordinator for Black Youth Vote, which is a program in the National Coalition for Black Civic Participation. And I participated in a whole bunch of different things down there. Eventually, I decided to go to law school, came up here to the University of Baltimore, and then I've been working with the ACLU and the NAACP. Real estate agent at one point. I don't have my license anymore. And I'm a teacher now. So I'm going back to what I originally went to school for, which was teaching social studies. And thankfully I have a perspective now that I didn't have back in 2003 when I first got out of school, which has helped me to come back into the school system with a renewed mission.
And what would that renewed mission be?
Well, one of my missions, I think, is to create spaces of Black liberation within the school system, to be able to provide students with opportunities to understand their role as movers of culture, politics, and relationships, and the relationship between our community, the Black community, and America and the world, and try to help provide them with the tools, strategies, and skills to be able to analyze and then implement ideas for change that they might have.
That's so dope. So my daughter hates when I say dope because she says it
We
sounds like
old though. We old, so
I tell her, I'm like, listen, like I want to be like, girl, we say dope.
I've been saying dope since 1988.
Listen, we've been saying dope for decades. You want me to take it out of my lexicon because you were born, you tripping.
No.
Sis, you tripping. So what made you decide to join the NAACP? Because let's just say, from my perspective, you know, historically the NAACP is very conservative and very like starched shirt and hair poised and just very, very progressive in their views. However, they stay within a certain box. And from what I know of you, from our conversations, from our history, you are more radical in how you approach relationships with Black America and the quote unquote majority. So how do you marry the NAACP and its image with your ideals?
I think one, the NAACP is not necessarily my first choice for organizing, but when I moved to Anne Arundel County with my family, and this was the only Black-led membership-based organization that served my part of the county, and so part of my identity is to be attached to organization. And so, being able to build Black leadership means that you have to be attached to an organization, and our ability to build mass communications, to use our collective knowledge and efforts and energy to build this idea of liberated Black people is going to be done through organization. And so yes, I can't in any way, I can't in any way like dismiss the fact that this organization has existed in Anne Arundel County since 1944.
Wow.
And so that was one of the main reasons why I decided to join. Having a legal training also helped me to understand that there were places that I could implement some of the ideas that I've had and some of the experiences that I've had in this organization. I saw where it needed help, and I felt like I was able to do it, able to help in ways that were not present at the time, and I could use my energy, and people were accepting of that. There needs to be a new generation of leadership of our organizations. So I think that's the other side. And then finally, like my family my great-grandfather helped found the Baltimore City chapter of the NAACP. His name is Garnett Waller. And he was a member of the Niagara movement. He was in Harper's Ferry with that. He has correspondence with W.B. Du Bois, and Du Bois wrote a eulogy for my great uncle, Owen Waller, who passed. And Owen Waller helped found the New York City NAACP chapter. And so it's been a legacy of my family as well that we've been members of the NAACP. But I don't, judging from my great-grandfather's legacy, it's not that he was an NAACP person, but rather that he was an organizer, and he was a community organizer. He was a pastor. He helped found Trinity Baptist Church, I want to call it, in Baltimore. It's in off Druid Hill. So like that was a major aspect of my family's legacy, and I'd hear about it all the time. And, so it's not something that I'm afraid of, but rather something that I appreciate.
I love that, because a lot of times, especially now, youth do not understand the importance of elders sitting under their feet, listening, and then taking the legacies of our elders and our ancestors and then making it more up to date, making it for our times today, and then tweaking it or adding it over. So the fact that you're doing this work, essential honor and reverence and veneration of your ancestors, your elders, speaks volume to why this work is so important to you and why you do the things that you do in the community. Because I've seen you in community activities, I've seen you in community events. You help sponsor our the JMEC screenings. You do a lot of work within the community, and talking about the legacy. And it's interesting because our conversation today is going to be all about housing and redlining. So in your opinion, before we really get into the meat of it, has the housing industry, because you do have the law degree, you do have the real estate license, former, but judging how your forefathers had to organize to get certain rights based on housing, because I know that was an issue back in 1944, because there's an issue in 2025. So how do you use that knowledge to help with the issues you're having now?
So in Anne Arundel County, one of the
Mhm.
reasons why this NAACP was founded was it was about the education side of it, because the founders were teachers and principals in a segregated school system. And so they, in 1934, they sued Anne Arundel County schools to equalize the pay between Black teachers and white teachers. And Thurgood Marshall was actually the attorney for the Teachers Association in that case. There was a Colored Teachers Association, and across the United States, that's what we had. We didn't have integrated teachers association. We had colored teachers associations and the white teachers association. So Thurgood Marshall and other attorneys for the NAACP. I can't necessarily say that Charles, what's the guy's name from Howard? I can't remember his name. He was.
I don't know. I'm not a historian.
You should.
That is history.
I don't know why you don't. You should know.
I should. So.
But.
Oh, that's why I
can let me say that.
You gonna yell at me later?
What you say?
Said you gonna yell at me later.
Yeah, I'm not going to. I'm gonna send you an article later. So yeah, they would go around defending or filing lawsuits on behalf of unions and teachers unions specifically to try to raise the pay of African American professionals. That's kind of where they started. And they also, one of the major cases that Thurgood Marshall was involved in as well was desegregating the law schools here in Maryland. He actually helped desegregate the University of Maryland Law School through after he graduated from Howard, because University of Maryland would not accept him. So he went to Howard instead. So like the education side of it is a major piece of this NAACP. In terms of the Baltimore City NAACP, in my family, like that aspect of redlining, not just redlining, but in Baltimore City, one of the first cases that the city branch was involved in was around desegregating certain neighborhoods and housing. And because Baltimore City was one of the first cities in the country to establish a race-based zoning. And so they were codifying race-based zoning, and the NAACP sued to ban race-based zoning. And then that they won that case, that race-based zoning was basically made illegal. And then after race-based zoning was made illegal in St. Louis, another type of zoning called Euclidean, because it's named after the city of Euclid, where they would do zoning based off of like industrial, residential, or mixed residential. And that's how they decided to implement race. It was used as a proxy for race-based zoning, all of these different other types of designations. And that was allowed by the Supreme Court. So the proxy that was allowed by the Supreme Court was another NAACP case, but the NAACP lost that case. And so now Euclidean zoning is basically the basis for the American zoning system that divides up our residential areas and implements residential segregation, and has implemented residential segregation through things like redlining. Redlining is placed on top of the Euclidean zoning paradigm. So that aspect of the home loan, the homeowners loan corporation of the 1930s is what established redlining. That's what the red lines were around Black neighborhoods. And then they would not allow mortgages to be backed by the federal government. And so that that was based off of how many African Americans or what lived in the neighborhood. If African Americans lived in the neighborhood at all, they would be determined as desirable, less desirable. And so now, just to combine those two aspects of the NAACP's past and future, is that we're still living in the era of race. Race is not race conscious, but it's like de facto racist zoning, and that is what affects our school system. So the school systems are follow along those red lines. And even till today, there was an Urban Institute report from 2021 that described that phenomenon of how modern day schools are segregated along the red lines of the past, and that redlining also affects all types of school outcomes. You could say from the school staffing, student discipline, educational program offerings, and student achievement on standardized exams. So the NAACP in this county, in Anne Arundel County, sued Anne Arundel County in 2004. They filed a civil rights complaint based off of those 4 concerns, that there were massive disparities in student outcomes on achievement, on tests, student graduation rates, discipline rates were disproportionately affecting African American students. And there was a lack of Black teachers as well. And so that complaint that they filed in 2004 with the—
That's really recent though. Like 2004,
exactly.
you wouldn't think that, you would not think, and you know my background is like IDD. You know I love my air quotes. You know I love them. You wouldn't think that in 2004 the NAACP would have to sue for this because of the disparities in the school outcomes, to turn around in 2025, where you were literally fighting to make sure that redistricting laws in the county are equitable, because you know that it will also impact it'll basically back whatever case was, you know, the civil case that was filed in 2004, because redistricting
in 2000 and so that they came to an agreement, the NAACP at the time and the school system came to an agreement where they would have community meetings, where they would improve certain statistics. There's a memorandum of agreement that we have with the school system that we try to bring out every time we can, because in 2000 and I want to say 2018, the school system sunsetted that agreement without our approval, and so they have kind of relieved themselves in their minds of the responsibility associated with that memorandum of agreement that was negotiated by the U.S. Department of Education, Civil Rights Office, and us in the school system. So they sunsetted that agreement without our approval, and then they, in the meantime, have opened up an Office of Equity where they are attempting to address some of these issues. And that Office of Equity has been staffed on and off. You know, the teachers don't necessarily want to go to the equity PDs. You know, then the changes have occurred. You know, improvements have been made, but not to the level of where the agreement that we were in specified.
Yeah, but I mean, even to the point of the PDs, I used to teach in DC, you teach now. And if we want teachers to be part of this equitable, the DEI initiatives and the PDs, they have to be attractive, they have to make sense, they have to actually make the data meaningful, and the teachers have to buy in. And what I noticed, and not just in the educational field, but in other fields, they make those things as dry and inaccessible as possible, so they can say that they don't work. So they can say that nobody wants to do it, no one's interested. And like when I hear stuff like that, when I hear things like this, it just draws me back to youth incarceration, because if I'm a Black kid that goes to the school where my white teacher has the luxury of not understanding me, or not understanding just being a boy, period. So many boys get sent to the principal's office because they won't sit still, but children are children. I don't expect, when I taught middle school, I had the older kids going outside, the older kids playing games, the older kids doing those things because it was, they need to get their energy out. And if children are not allowed to be children and teachers are not able to understand them, especially when it comes to cultural differences, for me, based on my data, my research, of the school disciplinary actions come, which then lead to school resource officers being involved, which then lead to the chronic juvenile incarceration. So, in your opinion, how does this redistricting add to that?
So the thing about redistricting is that it can reinforce the same boundaries that created the problem in the first place. And school systems generally have the responsibility of, especially in the post-Brown v. Board world, of eliminating these disparities. And so if your school, I was looking it up earlier today, I want to read it to you.
I love how you're such a nerd.
Yeah, hold on.
For those people watching, this is how our conversations go. Like, Steven is not going to come. He will laugh at jokes, but he's not going to come at you with the laugh at jokes after he gets his point across, after he gets his facts out. Like, he is the supreme bookworm, and I love him so deeply, boy.
Wow. Hold on. So this is from a Harvard article about the situation. The socioeconomic consequences of school segregation. It says that only 1 in 8 white students attends a school that has a majority of students that are majority Black, Hispanic, Asian, or American Indian. Only 1 in 8 white students attends a school that is majority of students that are majority Black, Hispanic, Asian, or American Indian. In contrast, nearly 7 in 10 children, Black children, attend such schools. And then less than 1 in 3 white students attends a high poverty school compared to 7 in 10 Black students. So the reinforcement of race and socioeconomic status combined is something that we see not just within the school system, but also within the prison system. So when you're looking at communities that are being over-policed, they're generally lower income areas that are predominantly Black or brown, especially Black. And that coincides, that correlation, I think, is something that feeds the school to prison pipeline. That's one thing. And then on the second part is that a lot of what we see in terms of the school system is students, like you said, that are misunderstood, that may have intellectual disabilities or hidden disabilities, and those hidden disabilities can be on display when it comes to dealing with the police. And so, like you said, when you're dealing with SROs, when you're dealing with, once you get out of school, when you're dealing with the police, then it becomes a situation of you're seeing students, young people that are experiencing, they may be experiencing traumatic events that may cause them to interact with the police differently. And so you'll find statistics showing that the people who interact with the police that end up being brutalized, overwhelming majority have mental health issues.
Yeah.
And so the mental health issue that you might be witnessing in the school system as an intellectual disability may come out differently in front of the police, and that leads to a police interaction that can lead to somebody getting killed, hurt, or just arrested without cause. And so that's one thing. That's one way that the school to prison pipeline interacts. And then secondly is that people end up interacting with the school to prison pipeline because they have such poor interactions in school that they end up dropping out, or they end up in the underground economy, and that can lead to people being subjected to increased police surveillance as well.
Give me a second. I got a little tickle in my throat.
That's one of the things that the NAACP has worked on as well, especially in Florida. I think Florida was like one of the founding places of the school to prison pipeline terminology.
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, I didn't know this until recently, because here in Maryland, the state legislature has tried to crack down on young people, because of you had the Kia boys most recently, all that, the squeegee boys, all that, stereotyping of young black men as being criminally inclined is something that has pervaded the media. So I think it's something that is it's a storyline made up by the fraternal order police, in my opinion. You know what I mean? That's my opinion. But,
okay, his opinion is not reflective of the NAACP.
Right. That's my opinion, is that the fraternal order police is using these narratives in order to malign young black people, and that the media is repeating what it is that the police say. And so that led to increased and enhanced penalties for young people in the juvenile justice space. And so that's something that's come out recently. Then even during the school shootings, when all the white kids were doing the school shootings,
all the white kids are doing school shootings, but they still don't have. But that's like an old school narrative. The metal detectors in the schools that everybody shoots outside.
Yeah, right.
But
that's black children. But the state of Maryland allocated, I think, $30 million towards the SROs because of the school shootings, and that ended up with an increased arrests of African American students here in Anne Arundel County at Meade High School. That we saw that there was a increased arrests all the way down to the elementary school level, I should say, of black children, because of the funding that was given by the state to hire more SROs. And that in and of itself was the result of the school shootings that were occurring in white neighborhoods, but the impact was in the black community. So it's just an increased, those types of having a segregated school system where you're seeing large numbers of where it's like, what do I say, more a majority minority school. It makes for targeting by the police in various ways.
But we know that that's all by design, because the 13th Amendment, although it freed us, it also enslaved us at the same time. And we fail to admit that last part. We are free as long as we follow the law. And when I did a screening in, matter of fact, it was at Heritage Baptist Church. And you were there. And we talked about, no, that was Stand from the Beginning. We did 13th at first. That was the first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we did 13th. And the kids were like, so you mean to tell me if I break the law, I'll become a slave again? I said, yes, that's what prison is. It's literally written in the Constitution with the 13th Amendment.
They covered that and Stand from the Beginning too.
Oh, they did cover it there.
Yeah, they covered that. It's good.
Oh my God. Like I want to do another event around that. I got to plan it in my head, because now I got like substance abuse going on too, where I want to do something around that, because that's one of the risk factors. Oh yeah. children who use substances are more likely to offend. And
Wow.
sexual offenses and all kinds of stuff. That's one of those risk factors. But just telling them that, yes, we were freed, but then they said, if you break the law, you then have your rights revoked and you become enslaved again, which is prison. So that's where the loitering laws came from, because we were freed, but we had nowhere to go. So we're standing around, now we're loitering. We're trespassing. We are, what is
Orphans.
Orphans. Solicitation. We have someone coming on the 6th that your law school is coming on the 6th to talk about parental rights, CPS, truancy, all that stuff, because truancy is another thing. Like, kids don't realize you can get your parents in trouble by not going to school, which is that's a whole other TED talk about the legality of school and what school prepares us for, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, one of the big problems with getting to school, and you're talking about redistricting, is the travel time to get to school. So if the travel time is excessive, students are less likely to attend. And then like Baltimore City is an open school district, so that can affect.
Know that.
Yeah, it can affect Baltimore City students worse than other schools. But like here in Anne Arundel County, we have magnet schools that are in areas that offer these single programs, that it may not be in an area that somebody can attend without either paying $50 for a Lyft or Uber to get to school, or it's just out of the way, and it's gonna be like a 2-hour bus ride for them to get across the county to get to school. And so that attendance is going to be limited, because the student has to. I think the Baltimore Banner has been doing a really good series of articles on the attendance, on the transportation issues for students.
Yeah, I was reading some of that, and it's funny you mentioned magnet schools, because I went to a magnet school, but I went to one in Baltimore County. And the way that Baltimore County has it set up, if they have they make sure that they try to. I'm not going to say they did this on purpose. I'm going to just say, based on from the outside looking in and looking at where the programs are, they'll have a program on West Side and East Side, North and South. So that way, if you're on one half of the county, you have accessibility to it. And if you're on the other half of the county, you have accessibility to pretty much the same programming. And I had to catch the bus to school. I had to go to Randallstown, wait for the bus.
Was it always like that?
It was like that from as far back as I remember.
Because we have magnet programs in Howard County, where I grew up, and there was one school that might have had a program.
Really?
Yeah, and then everybody else, like River Hill, when it first opened, it had magnet programs that nobody else in the county had, and so that was a problem.
I know at Western, where I went, they had pretty much everything. They had cosmetology, automotive, computer applications. They had allied health. They had culinary. I did environmental science. They had about 10 when I was at school, and now more schools have magnet programs in them than when I was in high school. Like when my daughter's going to in August, which is a whole other conversation about the anti-Blackness that's within us that we don't know that we have. Because when I told people what school she was going to, it was automatically like, oh, she's going there. And it's because we have this ingrained anti-Blackness in us that we don't understand is prevalent, because it's so deeply rooted within us. But even so, where she's going, she got into that magnet program, but they have something that they did not have when I was in school, the career and technology education track, where pretty much every kid has to pick a track. So they have the teaching academy, the NJROTC, they have something else, they have engineering, and the kids have to pick a track. And even if it just exposes them to that field, that career, they got to pick one. You just can't be outside floating. But again, like I said, that's Baltimore County. And more schools have more magnet programs. So like Randallstown, in another predominantly Black school, they're the only ones that have like this particular thing where they particular magnet program where they partner with LifeBridge, and the kids learn how to do different types of medical services, whether it's radiology, et cetera, versus, I guess, Anne Arundel County, where you just have pockets. But
No, I was similar to what you just said. Anne
okay,
Arundel County has east, west, north, south, but the
how many
distance,
schools? I'm about to say how many schools?
but the distance, it can be very far to get to where you want to go. Also,
They don't have it in multiple locations. Like I know Randallstown, Milford, Woodlawn.
some of them are better than others. That's my other side. Is that like I think Meade High School is the only school that offers like a Homeland Security certificate. And then, but Annapolis High School, they have an IB program. Southern High School has a more maritime program. Like there's programs because we're on the water, so they have a maritime program. Yeah, but yeah, exactly. It's Southern is like 45 minutes from Severn, so where Arundel Mills is. So it's very far to get there. If you're coming from Brooklyn, which is right next to Baltimore City, it's going to be a hike, and you're not going to see even students that are in Annapolis will consider it too far for them. If it's that far of a drive.
So what can we? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm.
No, go ahead.
The conversation. So as strategic disruptors, how do you feel that we should move forward? How should we move forward as a community? One, to make sure that access to these things are equitable. I'm not saying it has to be equal, because that's like me wanting to be equal to a man that's 6. Because you like what, 6'4"? How tall are you?
6'2".
Really? Why do I feel like you're taller than that?
Because you're short.
Either way. What? I'm not
you're
short. I'm 6'9" in my mind. I'm trans height.
Wow.
So
okay.
Because I feel like people get equity and equity and equality mixed.
I got you.
I need things to be equal. I need things to be equitable, because there are certain things that I cannot do because of my height. Like there's a step stool in my house now. Right. Now, do I have access to kitchen cabinets? Absolutely, because I have a step stool, which makes it equitable, because you can reach it, I can reach it.
Yes.
But equality is we just all on the same, everything's just on the same level, which does not make sense, because it would be too high for me and still
I got your metaphor. I got you. Well, I think it's
not just you. We're gonna have an audience watching this, and they need to know.
I think they got you. I think they've seen the image. You've got a very, very knowledgeable audience. I think one, supporting your organizations like yours, the Jerome McFadden Educational Center helps, especially because you're actually doing the work of bringing in experts, making sure that the right conversations are being had, and you're pushing the conversation forward. You're not getting bogged down in trying to blame people per se. You're trying to find solutions, even outside of the box, bringing in writing grants if you can. You're doing what you can where you are with what you have, thinking globally and acting locally. So I think that's something that is very important for all of us to be able to do. So it takes, again, supporting organization in order to be able to do that type of work at a scalable level. So if you want to scale this type of work up, you have to have people, you have to have resources to be able to get it done, because we can't do everything by ourselves.
We can.
Then the other side of it is that, you have your community-based organizations, and you have to be able to connect policy to those organizations.
Yeah.
So I think that staying on top of we have to start, collecting our own data. We have to start reaching out to some of these foundations and making sure that they are funding data collection now that the federal government is backing out of data collection.
That's what it was.
The federal government dismissed 3,500 civil rights complaints as they've been shutting down the Department of Education. So I think that I signed a petition yesterday with the National Education Association to stop the dismantling of the Department of Education. So I think that that's another thing. If we can, there needs to be, we need to organize our unions, our community-based organizations around stopping the dismantling of the Department of Education, and making sure that we get the data publicized. And I mean, filing a lawsuit is one thing, but I think, we have to start thinking more protest in the streets and people's faces. Especially if people's jobs are being lost and there's nothing, it's just like a silent rain is happening, and people are looking outside watching the rain fall and then going back and making tea and not doing anything about it, when it's actually
rainwater on top of that.
Say that again.
I said making tea with the actual rainwater on top of that.
Exactly.
Filtering out the bad stuff and trying to find only the good in it. I love a good metaphor now. Don't do it.
I see. and then at the same time, it's like what we need to be doing is, what's happening is blood is coming down. That's not rainwater. That's blood from people's bodies, being destroyed. That's affecting people. People are being killed, and they're dying from starvation, and the threat of economic violence is being placed on people. And I think that people need to start thinking about it in those terms. Like this is economic violence that's being we're being subjected to, instead of thinking about it in these, real basic terms. Like our institutions are under threat. Whatever you might want to do, whatever you think needs to be done, to change segregation and school to prison pipeline, all of that is under threat right now, because we won't have the data to make any changes. One of Trump's executive orders was all about redefining what discrimination is in the school system, so that people who are racist would be the ones who are determined as the victims. So like this entire situation that we're living under in this moment is what needs to be, is an emergency from my perspective. Like the emergency that we have experienced in regards to resegregation has led to this moment. People ignoring the fact that African Americans were constantly being placed under conditions that nobody else was being placed under. And then
they gave us a black president, so we should be
exactly.
They gave us a black president. And for the record, again,
or police, or black school superintendent, or a black police chief. You know what I'm saying? Like
they gave us performative things. And for the record, these are Stephen Waddy's views and not the views of
this is I think that these are, I just came back from the national convention, and I think
that's right. How was the convention?
It was good. It was good. I think that these are like the general thoughts, because this is the NAACP is basically the activist base of the Democratic Party. And I think that a lot of the people from my conversations and from what I heard in the resolutions that were brought forward and voted upon by the general body, they are very much like we are under threat, and we have to act. We can't just be sitting here talking. Like we have to act now. I just saw an article I posted up on my Instagram the other day about trying to play the rope-a-dope and letting Trump fail.
Oh
And
yeah, I saw that on your page. And I
yeah,
was
that
like,
was.
that's not.
But you saw what the pastor was saying. This is
Yeah.
the man who is the lead pastor for the African Methodist Church in Episcopal Church in the Maryland, DC area. He was like,
Mhm.
we can't afford to let Trump have any more wins. It's
No, we
like,
can.
yeah, we got to
It's
be active now.
it's one of the things, and for all those listening, I'm not a Democrat nor am I a Republican because I find fault in all things bipartisanship. So take what I say with either a grain of salt or take it with heavy weight. Take it how you will. But one of the things that I find flawed about the Democratic Party is that they want to be right a lot. They want it to be right. They want it to be perfect. When there are times where instead of us fighting and arguing over an ideology, we actually have to shut up and execute some sort of action. I'm not saying just throw darts and see where things land, but there has to be a point where instead of us, and one of the people that I really love, I do love Jasmine Crockett. Like I love her. She's amazing. But one of the things that we have to do is stand up and say, no, we are not. Do we have a plan afterwards? No, but we're not going to do that. And I think that is one of the bigger issues that I see is that.
So who would you follow
Mm,
in regards to this in regards to this onslaught against the Department of Education? Who are the people that you're looking to learn from and give you the action to do?
honestly, and this is going to, again, this is why this is the Strategic Disruptor Initiative. I would actually go to the kids and the teachers.
Mhm.
Politicians are going to play politics. I mean, that's just what they do. But with the dismantling of the education, of the U.S. Department of Education, I would go to the teachers, I would go to the kids, because the kids will go to their parents. You have to get the people that are grossly impacted by this nonsense to be the ones to lead the charge. The problem is that politicians, for the most part, only value their constituents when it's election time. There are a few that I have seen. I will say that, like, there's a few that I've seen that are just out and about and they do the work, like Shanika Henson, Sean Stinnett. I've seen them do work. Brother Malcolm, because you went to one of his events.
Yep.
So,
Malcolm Ruff, yes.
but
We were
like,
classmates in law school.
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I'm Malcolm's campaign chair. So I definitely support Malcolm, nonpartisan wise for the NAACP. But I think I appreciate you mentioning some politicians, who happen to be Democrats that you think are doing the work.
Yeah.
Locally.
Yeah, but I've seen them do the work, and they don't just do it performative.
But have you seen any organizations that you think are providing you with like action steps?
Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle. They have some things on their website that are actionable steps. Now, whether people listen to it or not, that's something different. I would say the Anne Arundel County Chapter of the NAACP, because I know under your leadership, they do work, and I've seen them do work. Like, I've seen you out in the street representing the NAACP. Locally, when it comes to the education department, not many. Most of the people that I've seen locally doing the work are focused on reentry services. And that's another thing. That's another thing. It's like,
yeah,
all of it's connected. And I know we all have our own role to play and our own lane to be in. But if everything is connected, then we have to operate as if everything is connected. One of the things that I do like, and then we're gonna wrap it up soon. But I went to the Safer, Stronger Together summer kickoff, which is an initiative with the Department of Juvenile Services, Department of Social Services, and Department of families. I can't remember, but it's 3 state agencies that came together because they realized, which they already knew, but this goes back to what you said about changing in leadership, bringing new leaders forward. This new generation of leadership said all of the kids that are impacted by one of us are impacted by all of us. Like we literally touch all of these kids, all of these families. So how can we work together to make sure that we're giving them everything at one time versus the kid goes to DJS and then the parent is on food stamps and then this parent is over here. How are we all working together to make sure that we provide the family the best support that they had? And that was just that's an initiative that happened this year. I'm not sure when the actual planning of it started, but their kickoff was this year. And there are a few state employees and directors that I know. I'm not going to say their names because, this is a podcast. Well, it's not even a podcast. I don't know what this is, but I don't want to put them in a bad light just in case I say something later on that's controversial.
In terms of what you just said about there was the law is a major aspect of this. A lot of the Department of Juvenile Services, from what I understand, does not receive much federal funding. Is that true?
I don't know, but what I will say is that a lot of their initiatives got cut when state funds that are funded federally got cut.
Okay.
So a lot of the money
they do receive federal funding, but it's not
pass through.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that would be my other side. Like with the budget cuts that are going on, it's going to affect all of the juvenile services. And then the idea that they want to increase policing, is going to be the other side of it. How do the Department of Homeland Security is about to be ramping up because they got wartime funding, and then
that's insane.
Exactly. So the question is, what funding, what programs are being removed from the Department of Juvenile Services? I need to look that up myself and see, how they plan on interacting with things. There's a commission that was begun by during the last legislative session that specifically addresses the funding cuts from the federal level to the states. What do they call it? They call it, hold on one second, let me get it for you. The Joint Committee, Joint Federal Action Oversight Committee, that's what they call it. The Joint Federal Action Oversight Committee. So they are, they're the ones that are like providing the public with the information on how federal funding cuts and any of these decisions that are being made by the Trump administration are going to be affecting the state of Maryland, and then how the state should respond to these funding cuts and mass firings that are going on. So happens that the House Appropriations Committee Chair, Delegate Ben Barnes, is from Anne Arundel County. And so he's going to be, he provided them with testimony. He's a member of that committee, the Joint Federal Action Oversight Committee. And then he provided them with a breakdown of how much money they're going to lose from the federal government. And so those lack of funds are going to really affect juvenile services, Department of Education, the local education funding programs got cut at the local level. So
yeah, it just sounds like we have a heavy load, and
we need to come back and talk about this again and get. Oh
my God, I was just going to say we got to do a part 2.
Yeah.
because we have to wrap it up. I promise people a 30-minute thing, but I also like to keep things organic. And again, I want to thank you for being my first guest. Don't make your eyes like that. I want to thank you so much. Like, you mean the world to me.
Okay.
You are don't do that. You're one of these people that actually put your money where your mouth is. You don't just talk about it, you actually are about it. And I've watched your community activism career evolve over the years, where you were frontline, like we were frontline working in the trenches in Atlanta.
It's true.
We were in the trenches.
You still in the trenches. I'm still in the trenches. You're not in
Nah,
the trenches like me.
Nah, that's not my lane anymore. That's not my lane anymore. Somebody gotta make sure, and this is what I was why I brought that up, because you mentioned about making sure that the policies match what we're doing. A lot of good work is being done on the street, but it's unraveled as soon as it gets to the systemic or the institutionalized level.
The structural level, yeah.
Yeah, so we have to make sure that there are those of us who understand both sides that can be able to protect the people that are the street soldiers, the ones that are out there doing the ground level work. So I just want to say thank you. How can people follow you?
And I look forward to seeing more from your organization and in these podcasts as well. So thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome. So how can people follow you? How can people find you? How can people join the NAACP? Because I know you
can join the NAACP. Go to our website, Anne Arundel County, NAACP.org. That's all spelled out. Anne Arundel County, NAACP.org. And there's a membership link on our website, and also you can update it on our latest newsletter. We put out a quarterly newsletter which provides all the information about what we're doing. We also have we got a lot of stuff going on. We got Annapolis city elections coming up, and these issues around juvenile justice are a major concern for people in Annapolis. School redistricting, funding being cut from the federal level. Annapolis is under threat of the environmental issues associated with Annapolis are a major threat with the city having various parts of it being flooded constantly. So that's another issue. There's a large immigrant population in Annapolis. So they were a sanctuary city. According to they declared themselves a sanctuary city, and then the federal government was denying them funds based off of that. So there's a lot of different issues going on right now in this election in the city of Annapolis, and so we're heavily involved. We had this forum a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
You guys can see it. I don't know.
Yeah, housing key topic during NAACP forum. Yep, see it.
So, and you can see right next to us, the housing, right next to our housing forum is the police. The Capitol Gazette decided to put the police right next to our housing forum. So it's crazy. So yeah, we need more people. We need more members. We need people to do work. We got a lot of things that are going on.
What's the age on? What's the minimum age requirement?
We have a youth and college division. So the youth and college division is 14 to 24, I want to say, and 14 to 25, and then after that, it's the adult branch. So,
okay. Stephen, I thank you. I appreciate you. We definitely have to do a part 2. And for those who are watching, you can find Stephen Waddy on September 6th at the preschool to prison screening, because he is one of our panelists, and he's going to be talking about, school to prison pipeline, and from his perspective, from the law perspective, from housing. You have a lot of experience, law, real estate, education. So I look forward to the conversation, and thanks everyone for watching, and we will see you again.